Hello and welcome to another episode of Blockbusters. As I said last time on that Gladiator one, we are basically just doing as many films as we want, whenever we want, and just putting them up, and then if you like the film you can listen to it, if you don't like the film, well, you don't listen to it, so but it's not like it's a weekly thing. We'll just put things up whenever we feel like it, probably in mass, whenever we can, find the time, which is usually the weekend, but we will see. At any rate, so we have chosen to do one of our favourite films this time. I mean, it's not one of the biggest films of all time or anything, but it's certainly one of my favourites and one of the ones that I can sit and watch, and certainly one of the most drama-filled films that I've ever seen that I really enjoy. Interview with the Vampire, based on the book by Anne Rice, which was released in the 70s. Hang on, I'm having some sound problems. No, I didn't do anything. How do I sound different? Frank is telling me I sound different.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you do. You've gone a bit fuzzy as well. Yeah. The call's gone a bit weird. Oh, it's all right. Just leave it as long as we can understand each other. Anyway, sorry about that, folks. So, Interview the Vampire, based on the book by Anne Rice. Which was in the 70s, so it took about 20 years to get this film made, because this film was released in 1993, but I believe it was filmed in 1991. I don't know about the delay of why it came out, 2 years later. There was a lot of controversy about the casting, to begin with. But Frank, what is it? When did you first see this film?
Actually, I saw it. I think it was last year. I definitely hated myself not to seeing it before. Last year around June, and from there I've seen it 10 times, I think.
I've certainly seen it quite a lot of times, yeah. But nevertheless, it's since then I watched it when I was like 12 or 13. I mean, it's not a type of film you can watch as a kid, really. But I watched it when I was sort of early teenager years. I didn't see it for years, and then when I got into the whole rocker and gothic thing and all that kind of stuff, I came back to it and was like, wow! And then you got it on DVD. So since then, I've been totally, loving the film. There's three main characters. There is Louis de Pointe-Lac, who is played by Brad Pitt. A little bit different to how it is in the book. In the book, I think he's supposed to be black haired, but in the film he's got brown hair. But generally the same, and great performance by, I think one of the best performances by Brad Pitt, along with Meet Joe Black. I know there's a lot of films like Troy and stuff like that I don't enjoy Brad Pitt in. But I do enjoy him in this film, and I enjoy him in Meet Joe Black. Also in the film, now this was the controversial one, Tom Cruise was cast as Lestat. Now, the author, Anne Rice, hated that idea, because Lestat was her main, guy, that she loved that vampire. And of course, Tom Cruise wasn't blonde, and he didn't have blue. Well, I think he does have blue eyes actually, but he didn't have the look that she thought was for Lestat. She was thinking, Top Gun guy, on a motorcycle with short brown hair. That's what she was thinking when she thought of Tom Cruise. And then, of course, he did it, and everybody was blown away by it. And to this day, he is still the definitive Lestat. Compared to the, we'll talk about his sequel. I say sequel with the term loosely, but Tom Cruise giving a fantastic performance as Lestat, full name Lestat de Leoncourt. That's the full name. They're all French names, so they've all got D at the front, where I believe it means the. So it's something like Lestat the Lion and Louis the something. And then of course Claudia, who is their little girl vampire. The plot of this film. There's basically this vampire was about to bite this guy's neck off, and he discovered that the guy he was about to bite was like an interviewer. What does he say? I'm a collector of lives. He's like, perhaps lucky for both of us. And then he's like, so, what do you do? I'm a vampire. Oh, okay. I take it you mean that literally. Yes, absolutely. And then for a while he doesn't really believe that he's a vampire. And then he basically turns around, shows his pale green eyes, and then sits down like he's halfway across the room. Then suddenly he turns the light on and then sits back down in like a second. But he's down there and his face is all pale and covered in veins and stuff. Now, I don't know whether you heard this, Frank, but apparently, before they did this, to get those veins to pop out like they did, apparently what they did was hang them upside down.
Oh, no. I actually haven't heard about that one.
But I don't know how true that one is, but just this idea of Louis and Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt sort of hanging upside down together, it's just a funny image to me. But nevertheless, so Louis basically introduces himself to this kid who is played by Christian Slater, surprisingly, who went on to become quite famous. Although, actually, no, I believe he was quite famous before that. And then he just did this kind of cameo role in this film with big glasses and a crew cut, and smoking all the time. So Christian Slater's character, I forgot what the character's called. I have read the books. I think they call him just a boy in the book or something. But in later books they give him a name, which I've forgot. But nevertheless, then he starts telling me about his life, and we cut to the music, and Louis says, yeah, I was 24, younger than you are now. But times were different then. I was a man at that age, master of a large plantation just south of New Orleans. Guys, you can tell I've seen this film so many times. I can literally read the narration word for word. But that's the gist of it, and he's basically... Now, in the book, they changed this because there was this whole thing about this homoerotic tones in it. You kind of can see that's still in the film a little bit, especially with Amon later on. But basically, in the book, his brother chucked himself down some stairs, and that's why he was sad, because he thought it was his fault, because he laughed at him, because his brother came up to him basically and said, I want you to sell everything and give it to Jesus or something, and he was like laughed at him, and then he went and chucked himself down some stairs, which was nice of him. And his mother blamed him and all that and stuff. But in the film version, he says he lost his wife in childbirth, and she and the infant have both died in childbirth. And they'd been buried almost half a year even. And he's there drinking in front of their grave, and then he goes to this bar and talking about how he's very, sort of depressed and he wants to die. Because he's playing cards with this guy in this tavern, this sort of old worldies. Now, I mentioned this is the 17th century now, because when the interview's taking place is the 20th century, the 90s. And when he says that he hadn't been a human for 200 years, and this was 200 years before, in the 18th century, I believe, in the 1700s, sort of Pirates of the Caribbean time. And basically he then he asks for death, and then he wins this card game, and this guy gets pissed off and points a gun at him, and he basically opens his shirt and is like, go on then, shoot me, you bastard.